Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my show Computer Wednesday. In today's episode, we're gonna take a closer look at Samsung Galaxy M30. So let's dive right into it. Now first you have to understand, there has been a very great trend change that happened to this world. So basically the world has changed because smartphone has reached what we classify as saturation. Basically everybody who's gonna buy a smartphone already has a smartphone. They may not have the latest or greatest, but they have a smartphone. So anybody who has to come in, they also want to come in at a very lower end price, and this change in this world is being pushed by two main countries, China and India. So at this point in time, price to performance ratio is the crucial aspect. Nobody in India or China is looking into like, okay, is this the latest and greatest phone? No, they are looking at like, okay, if I give you this much, how much I am getting? So in early days, basically in the beginning of smartphone era, if you had bought a cheap smartphone, the basic answer was it's useless. It's just quote unquote smartphone. Many apps used to did not work, but nowadays it has changed completely. Of course, still you have the problem that let's say you are playing PUBG, it's not gonna be like latest and greatest, but it will work. So we went from an era where you can easily tell the difference between a cheap smartphone versus an expensive one to an era where everything is defined by Goldilocks price. Basically, if you are asking me, let's say 15,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees, or in case of America, let's say $200, are you giving me something worth $200? Nobody's asking like what a $500 phone can do. I'm just asking for 200, what are you giving me? So the gap between high and low end phone, it is completely shrunk. Now, is there certain things that are like remaining? In early days, as in 2011, 12, 13, the biggest differentiator was basically the cameras. Nowadays that is also shrinking, and at this point in time the only difference you can truly tell, is basically gaming performance. So how does Samsung Galaxy M30 plays into this? Now you have to understand, this is the first time any company, Samsung, has introduced AMOLED in a cheap price. Basically less than 250 euro, it's giving you like basically AMOLED display. Not a second hand phone, not an old generation phone, a brand new phone with AMOLED. That is amazing, because there is no difference between one type of LCD to another type of LCD. Some LCD may last longer, some LCD may have better contrast, but they are like iterative development. If you want evolutionary change, you have to go to AMOLED. AMOLED is a completely different ball game. So in AMOLED display, you can actually enjoy movies into this, because when black screen comes, basically anything that's not supposed to be emitting light, it does that, because it basically there is no backlit in this. So it is inherently amazing technology. On top of that, they are like, okay, this is a cheap phone, but they are not cheaping out on battery. The battery is 5000 milliamp hour, so that's a pretty big battery. On top of that, they are making sure you get dual SIM, which is very crucial for India and China. Like, it's not a big deal for Americans, but in India, almost everybody has two SIM, and many people have three SIM. So you have to have two SIM, or you have to have two SIM system. There is no way you can survive in India lower than two SIM. So it gives you two SIM, both are 4G compatible. Then it also give you SD card. Now this is very critical. Many phones have dual SIM plus SD card, but the consequence of that is that you have to choose between a second SIM or an extended memory. Here you don't have to make any choice. You put two SIM card and you put a SD card. On top of that, that SD card itself is also very big, so it can support upwards of 500 gigabyte SD card. Many cheaper basically phone, even though they support SD card, they can only support up to 128 GB. At this point in time, market has already started to see 256 GB SD card available, so you can put them into this. So imagine, for a media consumption, that is amazing. It has USB-C, which was an issue in early 2018, and almost till 2018 was this issue that many phones did not had USB-C. This is solves that issue. On top of that, it was also giving you 3.5mm headphone jack, which is necessary. Like, the only company that can give you great quality audio using Bluetooth is basically Sony. Anybody else, they're saying that yeah, it's not good. Basically just no. Even like a simple copper conductor is undeniably better. The sole reason Sony can pull that off is because they have their proprietary data transmission, which is high bandwidth. So they can quote unquote lossless transfer from your digital media to analog signal in your headphone. So they give you 3.5mm headphone jack, which is not a given in this price range, and they give you 6 GB of RAM, which is more than enough. At this point in time, 4 GB is sufficient, but you do end up in a scenario where you are filling up that 4 GB. 6 GB gives you breathing room, and you get 128 GB of storage. And this is what Samsung is doing very nice. Samsung does have two variants of this. One variant is a cheap variant, which is lower than 17,000. It's around 15,000, upwards of less than even to $198 or something like that. But what they are doing with that is they're giving you 4 GB and 64 GB of internal storage. Here they are going all out. 6 GB, 128. There is no 6 GB plus 64. They are doing very nicely. Like if you are going upgrading the RAM, please upgrade the memory also, so you can really enjoy a lot of things. It also has DRM support. Basically, because of Netflix piracy issue, Netflix has created a very strict control, so they will not give you full HD signal to your mobile. Even though it's showing that full HD symbol, it will not give you that full HD. It's basically taking 480p and stretching it out, or whatever they can do, like 900p and stretch it out. The reason why it's doing that is because it's not certain that whether you are trying to basically watch the content or copy the content. So to protect against that, they flat out don't give you the full quality. But if you have that DRM support, which iPhone has, high-end Samsung phone has, if you have that, you're gonna get basically the true full HD experience. So, and on top of that, they are also giving you Dolby audio support. Basically, because you have headphone jack, you can put a very good quality headphone, plug into this and enjoy it, and it is really good. And there is no ad. Now this is a very critical aspect. Many of the new MI phones are basically Chinese manufacturer phones. They are way too underpriced. Like, it does not make sense how the heck you can, at this same sort of price, you can give Snapdragon 600 630 processor. It does not make sense. So the way they are forfeiting the cost is basically A, they are reducing their profit margin, B, the amount of cost they are recouping that cost using ads. So basically your phone now has ads, not like YouTube or things like that. Basically your phone itself has ads. So many people are okay with that, many people are not okay with that, but this is crucial. Samsung is doing this without ads. Then we come to the aspect, the final question: is it perfect? Short answer: no. It's very close, but no cigar. Because you can check my last video about mobile phone. In my opinion, the best you can buy in budget phone is Motorola One Power. Basically, at this point, P30 phone. This is best best all-rounder phone. It's not the latest and greatest. It's just best all-rounder. Basically, you buy that, you enjoy it. The biggest hurdle is already classified. Because of ad subsidies, these phones have way too high performance compared to Samsung M30. The camera quality, even though in M30 it's very good, it also has that ultra wide, which is Samsung is now very popular about. It's not amazing. It's good, undeniably, so it's good, but they are giving you 13 megapixel while this puppy is giving you 48 megapixel. So yeah. So you can understand, camera wise it's not wow, groundbreaking. It's not bad, but it's not wow. And the software, now this is the Samsung's biggest hurdle, because Samsung and Google are no longer in the same foot, and they are not speaking to each other. So Samsung is never gonna give you Android One phone, so we have to deal with Samsung, and Samsung is ludicrously slow in terms of software update, and flat out they don't even do it. So at this point in time, that is the biggest point of contention. Even though their hardware is quite powerful, quite capable, they cannot use it to its fullest extent because they are not because they are more focused on shipping new phones rather than upgrading the old one in terms of software. So that creates a paradox. So at this point in time, even though M30 is really good, they are still running on an Oreo. They are not even at Pi, and Pi is about to expire at the end of this year. So it is really unfortunate, basically. So what is the biggest problem with Android? Why the heck we are having this phone that are almost good, but they are not as good as possible? This thing you have to understand is PC industry used to have this issue, but they grown past it. And the biggest hurdle with Android, with even iPhone, is basically its tied nature of software and hardware. They're not independent. Think of it this way. If you go to buy a laptop, do you worry about will this laptop run Linux or Windows? You don't have to do it. If you buy an Intel processor, you don't have to worry about whether it's gonna run Apple or Windows or Linux. So you have to understand, the whole world is running in an open environment where you can buy a AMD processor, an Intel processor, and just run with it. But in terms of Android, that's not the case because of the ARM architecture they are using. Now, of course, as ARM architecture gets more mature, more evolved, it should, in principle, become same like PC. Basically, a manufacturer is gonna build a phone, Samsung is gonna build your phone, basically whoever, Samsung, Sony, Motorola, whatever, they're just gonna make the phone, and you're gonna install whatever application you need to using Google. Now that was the core idea of Android One. Basically, you buy an Android One phone and you don't have to worry about updates. Now I have Android One phone, MI A1. Now it's quite good, given the fact that when I started, it not even had Oreo. So older version of Oreo it had. So it got upgraded, security patches, update, security patches. Now it's at 9, and if things are going as it should also get Android 10. So at this point in time, I don't have to worry about updates on this phone. However, Android One experiment did not pan out as well as everybody hoped, because at this point in time, if you want to buy an Android One phone, the only true manufacturer you have is basically Nokia. Nokia is going all in into it because they don't want to develop any kind of software backbone, so they are like just letting Google do it. And in terms of MI only makes one phone, and it's like, just we will make one phone every year for Google, Android One, whoever needs it. MI A2, basically second generation of this phone has that, but no other phone. And like Motorola has it, but only one Motorola has it. In terms of Nokia, everything has in Nokia brand has this, but everything else does not have it. So like in MI you only get one phone. In case of Motorola you get only one phone. In case of Samsung, no phone. In case of Infinitex, this is a new upcoming company, it has one phone. So this experiment did not work out as amazingly as people heard, because this had the quote-unquote potential to physically save the lower end of smartphone. Basically, the biggest hurdle with smartphone is that there is no update. Like, even though Samsung now is learning and they are providing update for their high-end line, it's not happening with their low end. So Android One supposed to take care of that part. That's not happening. And just recently, just like in few days ago, Google announced that they are only going to take care of 2 years. Earlier it was like as long as they can do it, but now it's like we are only going to provide backup, updates for 2 whole years. So we need a PC path. This is the final nail in the coffin of Android. Basically, if Android figures this out, Android's gonna change the world. Like at that point, Google is iPhone is, as I talk to you, is already a status symbol. It's no longer a phone. It's no longer a cutting edge or bleeding edge. At this point in time, it's just a phone. Now, of course, it's a very good status symbol. Other than that, it's nothing else. So Android can really take advantage of it if it solves this issue, that basically they have to become like Intel and AMD and Windows. Everything works with each other, but you don't have to worry about it. So people can buy, basically, let's say right now we already have you buy from Kirin, or you buy from Samsung, or you buy from Snapdragon. You buy the processor from these manufacturers, you build your system, and you just buy software from Google. Right now it does not work that way. Basically they have to recombine and recode everything, so we end up suffering because of it. That's why old smartphones are practically useless. This is the problem. If somebody solves this, basically splits hardware and software apart, we're gonna be saved. And it's also gonna reduce e-waste in this planet, so which is a nice bonus. So this was my presentation on Samsung M30. I hope you liked it, learn from it. In that case, please click like and click the ads that are shown in this video. That will directly help me. And dislike it if you did not like it, and press it twice to show me your extra disappointment. And I would urge you to leave a comment because I reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.